It's great to have you with us tonight. Thanks for being here. We're very excited to have Marissa Barlow back with us. She was a student here. She worked in our Center for Entrepreneurship as an intern. She went on our seed program twice, and she built a very, very amazing business. We hope we had a little bit of a hand in that, but we loved having her here, and we're very excited about her success. Before we start these lectures, we like to have someone come up and tell us what they learned from the previous lecture. And I'd like to have one male and one female student volunteer to do that. And if you're willing to do that, just tell us one thing that you learned from Mike Romney and Bryant White that you think was valuable that might help you in your career and in your life. And if you're willing to do that, you get one of these really awesome Danique journals, okay? So who wants to come up? Tell us what you learned last week. Okay, let's have you two. Come on up. Thanks for being brave. So tell us your name and what one concept that was important to you that you learned.
I'm Maddie, and I learned that values are very important. Being able to share your values and let others know what they are can help for a more cohesive team.
My name's Akira. I learned that sacrifice is super important, especially when you want to learn and grow and develop as a person. The more you sacrifice, the better the return will be in the future.
Okay, so you know now if you're in the class that you need to turn in a summary of what you learned during the class. That's how we give you credit for attending. One of the things you might want to do is take a picture of that summary on your phone so that when you write your final summary paper, you'll have those notes. But Hannah's going to actually keep those and alphabetize them, and at the end of the class, you can come and pick those up if you want and actually see what you wrote, all right? But be sure to turn in that form so that we can count you here tonight. Okay, I'm going to turn the time over to one of our great interns, Kyler, and he's going to introduce Marissa.
All right, how's it going, guys? It is my absolute pleasure to introduce tonight's speaker, Marissa Barlow. Marissa Barlow studied entrepreneurship at Utah State University and strategy at BYU. She's an entrepreneur and the co-founder of the swimsuit company Nani Swimwear. At age 15, while struggling to find a fun yet appropriate swimsuit for a family vacation, Marissa decided to start a company that provided quality, modest, and fashion-forward swimsuits. The mission of Nani Swimwear is to empower women everywhere to love their bodies, seek adventure, and live a Nani life. Let's hear it for Marissa.
Hi, guys. I'm super excited to be back here. Like Kyler said, I went to Utah State University only a couple years ago, so it's fun being back on campus. We're going to start out with a Kahoot. So if you want to whip out your phones, and we have some fun facts about Nani. Let's see if we can start it. I haven't tested this. Oh, classic mode. Okay. So it's just 8 questions. Here's the pin. And then I have a gift card for the winner. So we're just going to go through this. I don't know if there's music or... I think music is kind of fun. Okay. We'll do like 10 more seconds to get in. Oh, player limit reached. Oh, sorry. I don't know if there's enough. Okay, well, the rest of you can just... I don't know, sweet. Snooze, you lose. Okay, Nani fun facts. What does the word Nani mean? It's an adventurous, friend, brave, beautiful. Nice. Beautiful is correct. I don't know if I need to... Do I need to press... Oh, next. Okay. Taylor, let's go. Where is the Nani headquarters located? Quiet, Russell. Oh, dang. Smithfield, not Salt Lake. Taylor Smart. I don't know who you are, but good job. How many swimsuits does the average U.S. woman own? 4. 5's a good guess. That's a lot, though. Where was Nani's first retail location? So about 30% of our business we sell to retail stores. It's called wholesale. So where's the first store that carried us? Woo! Bear Lake. Oh, poor Taylor Smart. Which retail store does not sell Nani and has never sold Nani? Nordstrom. So we're currently in REI and Anthropologie, and we have been in Macy's. Okay, 6 out of 8. In 2021, what percentage of all businesses in the U.S. were started by female? Woo! You'll have to fact check me. This is what I could find online. So a lot less women are funded by VC, but I thought it was super interesting that almost half, 50-50, of businesses started in 2021 were started by females. So that's rad. Okay, 2 more questions. What does Nani have patented? Pockets. So pockets is what we have patented, and that's awesome. So this is our last question for your Kahoots. Men's swimwear takes up what percent of the total swimwear market? %, and that's why we don't do men's swimwear, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, 3rd place, Sid. 2nd place, Valerie. And 1st place, Charlie. Where's Charlie? Sweet, good job. So you can have a gift card, and you can come find me after. I'll give you a gift card you can give to your sister or your girlfriend or whoever. Sweet. He's right there in the gray shirt. Everyone give it up for Charlie. Nice. Okay. Okay. Like Kyler said, I'm Marissa Barlow. I'm one of the founders of Nani Swimwear. I'm super excited to be with you guys tonight. I went to Utah State just a few years ago, and so I was telling Mike earlier, I'm like, it just feels like home being up here. So a little bit about Nani Swimwear. We are active swim brands. I think we're 7 years old, not 6, but we're based just local in Smithfield, Utah. I live in Orem, so I just work remote, but our whole team, we have 17 girls on the team, all women, which is super cool. There's 3 owners. We do about 70% of our sales direct to consumers, so that's just straight through our retail website, and then 30-ish% through retail stores that carry us around the country. We started manufacturing in the U.S. and then moved to China like 4-ish years ago, and I'll walk you through that process throughout the presentation. But a little bit about me. I told you I went to Utah State. This is a picture from the Utah State-Nevada basketball game. I'm like a true-blooded Aggie still. And yeah, I just love Utah State. This is my family. I grew up playing a lot of sports. This is me running track and field. Not actually running, but like This picture was captured at one of the meets, and it appeared in the Herald Journal, which is like the local Valley Journal newspaper. The next day, super embarrassing, but I just love being active and outside, and I think that ties into a lot of how, what inspired Nani to be started. So like I said, I used to go to Utah State. I transferred to BYU. Don't throw anything at me. But I've been going to BYU for a couple years now. I almost made it out alive, you guys, but I got engaged on Saturday. So thank you. Yeah, this is my fiance, Tanner, and he's really awesome. And then my dad's right here in the front. He's also up here in this picture. I'm just super happy to have him. Thank you. So like I said, I was literally sitting in these seats. I worked at the E-Center, and so, I was actually the one scooping out the ice cream while you guys were sitting in these seats. But I remember listening to a lot of really rad people, and it's just crazy. It's crazy that I'm here. I feel really honored to be here tonight. Some of my goals for tonight is, like, one thing that I really wanted as I was thinking through this presentation, I really wanted you guys to take some sort of action, like something that I'm talking about that you'll take and internally apply it and be so motivated that you'll turn it into some sort of action in your life. That's my goal. So at least one thing I hope that you can get from tonight and apply it and change something in your life. I want to really break down the steps of how I started Nani, what that looks like, and make it applicable to you guys, because I feel like I'm like your guys' age. I'm maybe a couple years older, but I hope it's relatable and kind of inspires you to realize that you can do anything, even if you're like 15 years old and know nothing and have no money. You can literally do anything that you want to do. So, and then I want to tell my story and throughout give you some ways to apply it to your life. So one thing that I'm going to have you do, I know you have like a little notes page, right, of stuff that you learn. You're going to write it down on this piece of paper, right? Okay, and then you're going to give it to them. At the end, you'll probably not think about it again. So in addition to that, that's awesome. In addition to that, I'm going to have you, throughout the presentation, pull out your phone and open up a notes page. I'll be asking some questions and just some thoughts of like things that I learned that maybe you could apply to your life. So I just really want to get some ideas flowing for you. Maybe some of you want to start a business. I hope you do. Or maybe some of you want to just create a life that is really happy and successful to you and build out your dream life. So that's kind of what I'm going to talk about today. So this is it. How I started a multi-million-dollar brand as a broke college student. I actually added this slide in last night. I first started with, I wanted to dive right into, how did I start the business? But I feel like that was missing a very important piece of the puzzle, which was what happened before I had the idea to start this swimsuit company. Like 15-year-old girls don't just go up to their parents and say, hey, we should start a swimsuit company. That's not really normal. So here's like why it felt normal to me. So I grew up in a big family. This is my family. So cute. So I have 6 siblings, so a very large family. Both of my parents have been self-employed my whole life, so it wasn't like out of the blue to, be entrepreneurial. But we did have a large family, and so money was a little bit tight. And so if I wanted something, if I wanted new clothes for school or to do like a really expensive dance competition, then I had to figure out ways to come up with money like pretty early on in life. So here's some of the things that I did before we started Nani. This is a picture. I don't know, is there a pointer on this? Probably not. Up here's a picture. I started a scarf business where I would take yarn and weave it into like scarves, and I'd sell it in my mom's home decor store. And then I started this photography business, and I would charge like $5 a person for a bunch of friends to come, and I'd take photos of them. And this was before photography was really even a thing. So for like a 14, 15-year-old girl, like this was a big deal. And I do little tumbling camps every year in my backyard and invite all the neighbor girls to come, pay $10, and I would teach them, tricks and gymnastics and stuff. My first job was actually at Utah State, and I was a summer camp counselor. I was like 13, 14 years old, And so I couldn't even drive a car. I didn't have my learner's permit or anything. And so I remember I would ride in the summer, I'd ride my Razor scooter to Utah State every day. And my house is in Smithfield, so it's about 7 miles each way. And I just remember getting really good at like both feet pushing because my legs would get so exhausted from pushing this Razor scooter the 7 miles to and from work. And I also remember calling my mom like multiple times a week, and I'm like, please come pick me up. Like, I really don't want to ride home today. I'm so tired. I just got done with work. And what she would tell me every single time was, Marissa, it's building character. I'm like, I don't want this character. Like, I would just ride home somehow. Like, I don't want character. I don't even know what that is. But later I learned what character is, and all of these businesses and different things were building steps, building the character, building the knowledge that I really needed when I was ready to start the business. So pull out your phones, open your notes page. The first question, and something that I learned was that I wanted to be prepared, right? So my question to you is, what are you doing now to prepare yourself? Whether you're starting a business or whether you're just building your dream life, like what steps are you taking right now? So like what side hustles are you doing? Are you hanging out with the right people? Like the people that you're around could be your future business partners. What's your current job look like? Are you just working for to earn money, or are you working because you're developing a knowledge or skill that you really want for the next job or like business that you're going to start, right? So these are some questions. Maybe just take a couple minutes and pick one of them and write down some thoughts about how you can better like put in stepping stones to your future. And maybe you haven't even thought about what your future goal is, and that's totally fine too. So in that case, just write down the question. Okay, so on to how we started Nani. So fast forward, I'm like 15 years old at this point. My family's getting ready to go on a cruise. We're going on a cruise for spring break, and I remember searching online for a swimsuit just for hours and hours. And all my girls out there know, like, swimsuit shopping is horrible. Like, it's so hard, especially online. And so I went up to my mom, and I'm like, hey, we should start a swimsuit company together. And my mom laughed. And that's probably what I would do to my 15-year-old girl, asking to start a swimsuit company too. But that was that. And that went on maybe like 2 years later. I mean, the idea is still in the back of my mind, low key, and I'm still working, developing these different skills and jobs that I hate. And there was one day, my mom and her friend, her name's Amy, they were over at our house, and they were talking about starting a blog together. And that's when I had that thought again, and I approached them. I'm like, no, not a blog. Like, we should start a swimsuit company together. And they're like, oh, a swimsuit company? Like, there's a million swimsuit companies out there. Somehow they got like roped into it, and we committed to starting this swimsuit company. And I did not know the first thing about starting a brand. I'm 17 years old. Like, I was a high school senior. So I didn't know anything about starting a business, let alone like how to make a swimsuit. That's so hard, right? Okay, so here's your action item. I think it's super important to always have ideas flowing, right? The idea to start Nani was from this pain point that I had. My parents didn't want me to wear the string bikinis. I didn't want to wear the like frumpy grandma one piece, and there wasn't a lot in between. So I had this pain point that I was like, I just need a swimsuit that, fits with my active lifestyle and that's still cute. So I would encourage everyone to start a page of notes on their phones that anytime you see a problem, that you just jot it down in your notes. Anytime you hear someone say complain about their job, or like this is a painful thing, or like even just business ideas. So I've had this page in my notes for like 5-7 years now, and you can just scroll because there's so many problems in the world, right? And you're going to hate me if you actually start doing this religiously, because you'll start to notice like there's a lot of pain points, there's a lot of problems, and the best businesses are started from the worst problems, right? The more it's a problem, the more people are willing to pay. So now we're in phase 1. I call it my young, dumb, and broke phase. And this is just barely starting to get how we actually started to get the swimsuit company going, right? So we committed, we're like, okay, let's do it. Now what? And literally, I just turned to Google and I Googled how to start a swimsuit company. And there's actually a lot of information on Google and ChatGPT now, so you can find out any sort of information. And it gave us a list of things to do. Oh, start sketching out your swimsuits and find a manufacturer, and just listed the steps. And so we just followed those. We found a factory in the U.S. is in California. We found it through this website called Makers Row. So if you're interested in doing manufacturing it all, that's how we found our first factory in the U.S. And it was really important that we started in the U.S., not China, because we just couldn't fill like the MOQs, so minimum order quantity in China is really high. We didn't want to buy a lot of products because we weren't even sure like if our product was going to be good. So we worked with this factory in the U.S., and I would literally send them this. This is what I sent them. You guys can do way better than this. So I sent this to the factory in LA, and the guy who owned the factory he was a pattern maker, luckily. So he was super excited about the brand and the idea, and he was a big part in the beginning. So he would take this drawing, sketch up a pattern, send us a sample, and we would like try it on a bunch of different girls, adjust things, and tell him the comments, and then he'd send it back. And that's kind of how we got our first prototypes going. And then once we felt confident about the product, then we ordered our first suits. So back to your notes page, you can pull out your phones again, and write down like what scares you, because in entrepreneurship and just life in general. There's a lot of times where you're just going to fail flat on your face, and you just have to pick yourself back up and keep going. Like I remember the first time, so we get all of our products, we ship them in from LA, and we're so excited. We've been working on these for a year, and we have this, we announced to our social media, we've been building up, taking pictures, and we announced that we're going to have an open house, and you can come buy our product, and we were super excited about this big open house that we were doing, finally having our swimsuits that we'd been working so hard to get in. And the open house comes, and there's like 3 people who show up. Like, oh my goodness, so embarrassing. 3 people come to show up, and we have like hundreds of these swimsuits. How are we going to sell these? So failure is something that you need to get extremely comfortable with. So here's some questions that I would ask myself if I was in your shoes, trying to prepare myself to be ready to start a company. What makes you uncomfortable? When was the last time that you were super nervous for something? Like, I am very nervous right now. I don't like talking in front of people, and that's something that I'm working on because I know you guys can learn something from my story, and I want to share. I want to help people. So I'm trying to do more of speaking because it scares me. But yeah, write down a couple things that scare you. Okay, this is the next phase 2, young, dumb, and even more broke. So I graduated from high school, and I spent all of my college funds on these 5 boxes right there. So this was our first order of shipments, and I have 2 other partners. My mom is one, and Amy is the other one. And we all split the first order, and it just came out of my poor 17-year-old girl entire life savings account to buy these swimsuits. Then I get to Utah State, and I'm a freshman, and I have no money. I have literally no money. So I remember my freshman year, I was working 3 part-time jobs, and I was going to school full-time, and I was doing Nani on the side. So I'd go from job to job, and I was just always running around. And then I'd get home at the end of the night just totally exhausted, only to open up my laptop and start my schoolwork. So it was looking back, my freshman year of college was not a super highlight of my life. I don't have great memories from my freshman year of college. There was a big learning curve, and we were just failing, learning the school of hard knocks. This is a picture of my dorm room. Literally just swimsuits all over the place all the time. And I spent a lot of nights in this dorm room just working by myself. Luckily, the story gets better, right? I found the Entrepreneurship Center. I found Andy, and he kind of took me under his wing, and I started getting more involved. So I would say this phase, like the biggest thing that I could take from it is the learning curve, right? This was a phase where I was just trying to learn as much as I could as fast as possible, and it was really hard because I was very young and didn't have a lot of experience. But the question that I would ask, and if you want to pull out your notes and write down, like, what's your favorite way to learn? Personally, like, I don't really like reading books. I think I might have ADD or something because I just can't. I can't read. I can't sit down and read a book. But I will, like, I'll replace my music as I'm driving to the grocery store, I'll listen to Audible, or I'll listen to a podcast. And I'm scrolling on TikTok and I see an educational video. I'm like, oh, that's really interesting. I'll stop. And that trains my algorithm to like feed me more educational stuff. So really think about what are the ways you like to best learn? Are you a visual learner? Do you like to read? Do you like to listen while you're getting ready for school in the morning? And dive into that, because this phase of your life is like the most crucial to learning. Okay.
Yeah, I think I got
This is my first page.
My soul is presidential like yeah, she
This is like the most amazing moment of my life. I've been working 3 years up until this point, like totally grinding. Like I said, I haven't been making any money. In fact, I've been paying Nani like everything that I got. I had loans from my parents. I had loans from my grandparents. And I was like completely maxed out for my money. And so getting my first paycheck, I got $1,000. I still remember the day, and it was like the most beautiful thing I'd ever earned. It was like $1,000 3 years later. But this is a big moment. After that, maybe like the ball started rolling. And I was trying to think as I was preparing this, like, what actually made the ball start rolling? Because we're grinding for 3 years. I'm like, it feels like we're just pushing on a wall. And it got to a point where I was actually in the Philippines on scene, and I remember like having very deep conversations with my partners about like how we should shut this thing down. Like, what does that look like? How can we just take our losses and just like cut the business? And the other two partners, the interesting thing about partners is that everyone is at a different phase. Like when I'm at a low, someone else is likely at a high, or vice versa. And so luckily at the time I was like, no, like we gotta do this. We gotta keep going. And somehow we just like left that conversation on the back burner, and we kept going. And the next year, like that spring, we got into REI, which was a huge deal for us. I'm going to talk about how we got into REI in a sec, but here's some other things that I felt like helped us get the ball rolling as we were growing the company. We were working with a lot of influencers. We never paid anyone. We just sent our product out to a ton of people. And luckily, like, influencers weren't really a big thing back then as much as they are now, so it was a lot more effective. We perfected our product. We learned what not to do a lot, and we also learned how to make a really rad product, something that a store like REI would want to sell. Because the first 3 years, oh gosh, that would have been a nightmare if we actually sold that crap to REI. You know, building engaging social media following. Like the first 2 years, I would say, pretty much all of our sales just came from social media, and we really built that up. We built our Facebook and our Instagram. And then when we started running paid ads in 2020, it was actually 2020, so like 4 years after we started, the paid ads just like took off. But I know that if we would have started running paid ads, like you have a product, you start running paid ads, it would not have been as successful as like doing the work and growing that side organically and then adding the paid ads to push up what we'd already built organically. So REI, I studied outdoor product design when I was here at Utah State, and I remember I was taking a sewing class, and I'd come into class every day. I was sitting by this guy, and we'd have little chit chats, and I'd tell him, yeah, I'm starting this business. It's a swimsuit company, and he actually worked at REI. He just worked at a local like Salt Lake REI, and he thought it was so cool, and that we were starting this business. So I didn't know this, but he'd go back and he'd tell his manager, he's like, hey, I know this company that's starting, they're going to be really cool. And this was going on for like probably 6 months until finally the manager was like, okay, I'm sick of hearing you like tell me about this swimsuit company. So why don't you invite them to pitch at our innovation series at our headquarters in Seattle? So he comes back and tells me that, the next week in class, and he's like, hey, I got you in, like, you can apply to go, like, show them your product. And this was a really big deal for us because we weren't in a lot of stores yet, like, at all. And if anyone knows, REI is, like, one of the biggest outdoor retailers in the United States. And they have a lot of stores around. So they're a huge company. So we go out and we pitch our product to REI, and they loved it, and they picked us up. And the first year, we were in maybe 5 stores just testing us out, and then the next year, like 15, and then 50, and then now we're like, they just told us, we had a meeting with them yesterday, and we're one of their top swim and water brands in their whole company, in all their stores and online. So, thank you. Thank you. Yeah. I know, super exciting. So the biggest thing that I've learned from this, there's been also other wholesale accounts that we've landed from me knowing people of just like students, or like I met Chad Chaplin from Ruli at this lecture series. I was at the dinner or something, and I got chatting with him, and then Ruli picked up our swimsuits, and they actually do our fulfillment now too. So something that I learned from this is relationships are everything. Like, you would never believe that me sitting next to some random guy in one of my sewing classes at Utah State University was going to get us like millions and millions of dollars in revenue every single year. So put your phones down. Like, I've even gotten into this habit. I go to class, and right before the professor starts speaking, I may be there for like 2 minutes, and I just pull out my phone. It's just habit. So I would just put your phones down and turn to the people next to you and get to know them, right? Because the people next to you are going to be the next, big entrepreneurs. They're going to be, you never know who they are, who they know. Some other things I'd recommend doing, meeting with your professors and just going into their office hours just to chat. That takes professors off guard so much, and I love doing it because they're used to just people telling them their problems and stuff, but you can really build some awesome relationships. And then messaging someone on LinkedIn who you just admire, and you're just telling them, hey, I love what you're doing, you're so cool, and that's all, And then maybe 2 years later, you're going to see them again and want to reach out to see if they can, like, connect you with something. But building good relationships and just focus on giving. Okay, so this is where Nani's at today. We are in a lot of retail stores, a lot of really cool brands that we get to work with around the U.S. and Mexico and Canada. We work with, like I said, our manufacturing is in China, and I've gone there like 3 times. I haven't been able to go back since COVID happened, but absolutely love them and being able to travel and really explore the world. We do have swimsuits with pockets, you learned. Lots of awesome Google reviews, and the brands started snowballing. But something that's more important than all the success is Nani is a Hawaiian word for beautiful, like you learned in the survey, or in the Kahoot. And I think like one of the things I'm most passionate about, I'm not passionate per se about like swimsuits specifically, but I'm really passionate about women and building them up and lifting them. And Nani's turned into such a big platform where I have been able to witness that and help with that. I would have never thought like a product like a swimsuit would have such an impact on so many different women. Like, these are just a few of the hundreds and hundreds of messages that we get of women who have never felt comfortable before in their lives in swimsuits and put on our swimsuit for the first time and like walk out. And it's so empowering to read these, and honestly pretty emotional. But I'm super grateful for these women, and these are the women. This is like why I was able to work 3 years without getting paid, right? That's a long time. And if you're not passionate about what you're doing, you're going to burn out in a couple months. There's no takeaway from that. Maybe on this page. This is what people see reality. Like I said, like, if you're interested in starting a business, prepare for your life to suck for at least a year. And our family and friends, like, were very discouraging, and so I didn't really tell a lot of people when I was starting the business. So it was super lonely, and just extreme highs and lows. You know, you're falling on your face, and then the next day you get a call from a wholesale account that wants to sell you. It's very like all over the place, but extreme freedom as well, flexibility, and just the ability to create your own like life. So my questions for this slide: what are you passionate about? Like, you may not be passionate about swimsuits, but maybe you're passionate about empowering women. Maybe you're passionate about, changing sustainability or, children, whatever it is, rescuing them from sex trafficking. And businesses could be such a good tool to create impact, right? So these are some questions that I would think through as you're thinking about. Maybe you don't know what you want to do. Maybe you don't know what you want to start. Or even if you want to start something, what are you passionate about is something that is a good thing to be thinking through that will help you get some ideas. So if money was no object, like what would you want to do to fill your time? What was a job that you did that didn't feel like work? Because I promise you, in those moments where it's like 1 o'clock in the morning and you still have homework after you're like working on your business and you've just been grinding for a long time, you're making no money and you're gonna want to quit. So it's super important to love what you're doing, or if you don't love what you're doing, at least be super driven by why you're doing it. What makes you feel fulfilled? When was the last time you got invested in something and like really lost track of time? So, creating your dream life. I know so many entrepreneurs that are honestly sad, like super depressed. They have a lot of money and they are successful by what the world terms success as, right? But something that I've learned along the way from Nani, especially lately, is we're like trying to figure out, should we blow this thing up? Should we get capital investment and do that route? Or do we just kind of like keep growing organically? And what does that look like? For me, I personally love, like, we get to go to Turks and Caicos every year. Our swimsuits are sold in all the resorts. And so we reached out to them to do a collaboration, and now somehow we get to go for free every year and stay in the beautiful 5-star resort. This is me on the Great Wall of China. I ran a half marathon, and all the incredible women of Nani. Like, I love what I'm doing. Okay, thank you. I love what I'm doing so much, and honestly, money past making like $100K a year, it doesn't even matter. So to me, like, what I'm focused on is I want extreme flexibility. I want to be able to like hang out with my kids whenever I want, and I want to be able to have this outlet to be creative and to be passionate and to meet rad people. So it might not be like the $100 million, $1 billion business that you're going to hear from with Sawyer next week, but I want you to know that I love what I'm doing and I'm super happy. And I want you to encourage you to, like, what does your dream life look like? And what makes you happy? Like, what do you wish? Like, if you could think of one thing, you're like, I wish I could get paid to do that. Then do it. You can figure out ways to make money. The one thing that I've noticed is people are like telling me about their business ideas is there's something that seems to stop people from actually taking the next step forward, taking action. Maybe it's like a little bit of a fear of failure. Maybe it's a fear of like, oh, I don't have the best idea yet. Or I want to go and I want to work for a couple years gaining experience. All those are super valid. But if you could learn anything from my story, I think it's that, like, you don't have to know everything. You don't even have to have the most amazing product. I think it's important that you find something that fills a need and fills someone's pain point. But I'll tell you, there's a million swimsuit companies out there, and I didn't know anything. So those are like the worst odds, and we still found a way to like push through and find success. So how can you actually take those steps to becoming successful? I mean, whatever you term as successful, right? Happy or flexible, or if you want a lot of money, great, that's awesome. You can term that as successful. and ask yourself, what's holding you back? What's holding you back from taking the next step? Is it fear? Or is it, maybe your mom is like, that's not a great idea, and then you just kind of drop the idea. Is it finance? Because I don't think you're like, in my situation, being a high school, college student, I don't think you can get any more broke than that. And then what classes could you take to overcome your lack of knowledge in the areas holding you back? You're in college, and you can take any classes that you want, any classes that interest you. And there's a million classes online, too. Like, what does your education look like outside of college? Are you on YouTube? Are you learning? Are you reading? And then who could you reach out to help you build your business? And I'd really encourage everyone to just spend some time this week thinking about some of these questions and just getting some ideas flowing so that when you are ready, when the idea comes up that you're like, I want to take on that, then you're ready. So that's all I have for you guys tonight. Thank you so much for letting me come.
We'll take the next about 10 minutes for a Q&A. And yeah.
Yes. Yeah, that's a super great question. So if anyone didn't hear, she asked, what's it like working with your mom, especially family in business? And for me, it was a very interesting dynamic because I was 17 years old and it was my mom, right? She was like 40 probably. And so I was used to her, like the only relationship we'd ever known was she was my mom, like she was the power figure in my life. And then suddenly you put us in a position where we're equal partners. And I know way less than her. And she is already like coming from this power dynamic that's interesting. So we've really had to figure that out over the years. I definitely feel like I had to work like twice as hard in the beginning to actually get my ideas to go through or get, a seat at the table. Working with family, I mean, it's not for everyone. Luckily for me and my mom's relationship is so awesome. And we'll be like, battling it out to the death in these meetings. And the poor employees and people with us are like, oh my gosh, what's going on? And then 5 minutes later, we're like hanging out, like so happy and like love each other again. So I mean, there's so many pros and cons. That's what I've found. I love doing it with my mom, and our strengths and weaknesses really complement each other, so it's been a great partnership. What else? Yeah, so there's only 3 of us, me and my mom and our family friend, and luckily we just happen to have complementary strengths and weaknesses because when I was thinking, I wasn't like thinking through my business plan and looking at my friends and saying who out of all of my connections would be the best partner for me to partner in this business. Like it was literally like, oh, hey guys, you want to start a company together? So that's one thing that I wish I would have done differently, and I'm super lucky the way that it played out. We haven't really had any other investment or partners that we've worked with, so just kind of reaching out to mentors have been a big part of our journey. Everyone, especially in Utah, is super willing to help, to teach you, and especially if you're a student. So that's what I'd say. Yes. Yeah, right at the beginning, so we got our swimsuits, we took pictures, and we posted them on Instagram. And that's how we got sales, was random people. At first it was just like family following us, and then maybe some friends, and then friends of friends. And I was posting on my Instagram, hey, I'm doing this, and and you start, even like 200 people, you guys, that's a lot of people. Social media, you cannot even believe like the power of social media is so much influence, especially like TikTok. You can go viral on your first post. So there's so much power there to get in front of a lot of people for free. So I would totally use social media if you're starting up something. Other questions? Yeah. Yeah, the one in China, is that the one you're talking about? Okay, so long story, our factory in LA literally printed our swimsuits on the wrong fabric, a fabric that fades in chlorine, and it almost completely wiped out our business. When you're selling a swimsuit for like $100, people expect top-notch quality, so they'd wear it in a pool and it would just look destroyed. So we had like a huge problem on our hands, and that was ultimately the thing that pushed us to manufacturing in China. We couldn't quite reach the minimum order quantity in China. In the US, I think it was like 50 pieces was the minimum that they would make custom for us. In China, it was 300. And that's like them doing us a favor doing 300. So it was a lot bigger. But we found our factory in China at a trade show called Magic. It goes on twice a year in Las Vegas. And if you're looking to source anything, I would totally recommend going there. Mostly in apparel and shoes and stuff, but they have just aisles and aisles, like the biggest room you can think of, full of people from across the world that you can talk to. And we went around and talked to everybody, picked a few of them, and sent them on their way to price out some samples for us. Came back maybe 5 of them, and this one came back the best. Best price, best quality, best English. So, yeah. Any other questions? Yeah. Fund? Yeah. So like I said at the beginning, it was just all of us putting in our savings. For my mom, Jana, and Amy, it was a little bit different because they're older, right? They're more established, so they have money. And I think it was probably maybe like $5,000 the first run and like $10,000 and then $20,000, for example. So the first time I was able to fund it. The second time, I think I got a loan from my parents. Is that right? Yeah. They loaned me $10,000. And then the $25,000 loan was from my grandparents. So I was super blessed that I had family that was in the position to be able to help me out a little bit. Since then, we've worked with banks. We get loans on Shopify. Like literally everything that we can do to not have to take on a capital partner that takes equity in our company, we'll do that. So yeah, that's been really difficult, especially as we started doing paid ads and the business shot up and started growing exponentially. It was really hard to fund more inventory. But we've just used family and friends, which is, I don't know how we did it. Yeah. Yeah, that's a great question. So going into COVID, we actually had decided like a few months before COVID hit, we were going to shift our focus from like a wholesale perspective, so selling to retail stores across the country, to we really wanted to dive deeper into selling online, just straight through our platform. Because wholesale is kind of scary. Like if one of the big accounts, if REI drops us, that's a huge chunk of our business that goes away. So felt like retail was a little bit more safe, e-commerce. So we wanted to build that out. And so we started doing paid ads for the first time like a month before COVID happened. And I'll tell you, oh my gosh, it was like overnight. Everyone was on their phones. Everyone was at home, bored, and they're getting stimulus checks. And there was way too much money in the economy, and Nani just shot up, and we didn't have enough inventory to like fulfill the demand. So COVID completely blew up our business. I will say that all of our wholesale accounts, their stores shut down, and they were all really struggling. One scary thing about that is, for example, REI, we had shipped, this was like the biggest miracle you guys ever in the whole company, I think. So REI, they're ordering almost $1 million inventory, and that's kind of a lot, right? And so we accidentally shipped their order way too early. And if you've ever worked with national brands, I don't know if you have, but they have very strict shipping deadlines. And if you ship before or after or even a day late, they'll fine you like hundreds and hundreds of dollars for each. So it adds up. Like I think that's just how they earn money, is their fees for vendors. It's so dumb. But so we had accidentally shipped all of the swimsuits when we were only supposed to ship like one box. So we shipped all of our swimsuits off to REI, and they got them, and then the next week they canceled everyone's POs. So luckily, like by the grace of God, we had already shipped out our product and they didn't want to return it to us, so they accepted all of it. Otherwise, it would have all been canceled, and we would have been stuck with a lot of excess. So, one more question. Yeah. Yeah, the first couple people we hired, one of them was just a family friend that came to us and said, hey, I love your brand. I want to rep you guys as like a wholesale account manager. So she came to us. She works purely on commission, which was perfect because at the time we like didn't have the money to pay her. So she works, any sales that she makes, she gets a commission. So she makes money when we make money. So that was really important. And then the first person we hired on part-time was actually Carly Gallagher. I worked with her in the East Center when she was like just barely a student, and she still works for us. It's been like 5 years, and she's like our top graphic designer. She's incredible at what she does. But we were able to bring her in like as a student, paying like $10 an hour, I think. And now she makes a lot more than that. But I would just say like we hired because she's my friend. So that's what hiring looked like in the beginning of Nani. Yeah.
Let's give Marissa a hand of applause.